Hey guys, Darren Kelly, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome to the first episode of the AFLW Fantasy season for the 2024 season, being season 9 in the women's. So, big season to come up. This is the first episode on my channel I've ever done about AFLW, and of course, it's going to be a team review, right? The season's only just around the corner on Friday, so at the time of recording, it is Wednesday night, so not too far away, less than 2 days' time. So I thought time to drop the team and start getting really ready for the season upcoming. So in this video, I will be showing you my team, going through all the players, why I picked them, etc. Trying my best to give you an explanation of why I've done it. I don't claim to be the best at AFLW Fantasy. This is only my second year doing fantasy, which probably leads me into I should probably introduce myself a little bit here for those that are new viewers. If you've jumped on board just for seeing AFLW Fantasy, you want to consume content, maybe you don't know who I am, and I don't expect you to either. But I've played AFL Fantasy for a little while now. I've played it for 5 years. I'll probably say I've been a pretty moderate uh, coach as such. Haven't always scored well, but I did manage to score really well in the 2023 season, and did earn myself a hat here. And did actually finish number one as well, if you can see that. So I'd like to say I'm okay, but I definitely been an up and down sort of season, especially with the season that has just finished for the men's. I did finish about 8k, so not always been up the best up there in the tight end, but definitely been there before. But in terms of my AFLW results, I finished 300th last year, so around that mark. Can't remember the exact ranking, but yeah, just missed out on a hat there. But they had a pretty good season, learnt a lot, and hopefully that will help me attack this year and do very well again. So let's get into the team, I guess. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That was just a bit of a backdrop. So here it is, Wise Ocean Pods, my team, and I guess we'll go through line by line about who I've picked and why that is. So I guess we'll just start in the back line, right? So what's his name? Ali Sharon. Ali Sharon is the easiest pick I think you can make this season. She's 925k, so a little bit more price. I think she's the second highest. No, sorry, the third highest price defender, if I got that correct. Yep, just behind. I'm not going to try and pronounce names, unfortunately. But yeah, she's going to be an awesome pick. She's moving into the midfield this year, so she played a little bit of midfield in the back end of last year, playing particularly these last two games where she spent maybe 25% time in the CBAs for her side and put up an 88. And then in the last game, she actually played 68% time in there as well and put up a nice 89. Sorry, 98. 97. If I could get my numbers right, that would be a good start. But yeah, I think it's going to be an easy pick. Looking at the practice match, she played predominantly in the midfield and scored really well. So I think she's just an automatic pick that you just want to start with. She's got a good run to start with. She's pronounced as like a good tackler, so obviously we want those tackling girls in there because they provide a lot of points for us, being a bit more of a tackle friendly game compared to the men. So definitely, I think she's an easy pick. I think most people have her being that she's nearly 50% owned, so no explanation really needed there. She probably has 20 points of upside, if not a little bit more than that. I think she could break the 100 mark for this season, and I think she does become the number one averaging defender for us quite significantly. Yeah, so I think she's an easy pick, and if you don't have her, I'd highly recommend it. She's got a good run to start the season as well. Number two, I have Ruby Schleicher. Schleicher? Schleicher? I can't say that word. Oh, that's bad. But she's come back from injury, so she only played 2 games last year and also averaged quite lowly. So she's pretty much priced based off her season prior to that, where she was quite a primo as such. So I think she averaged 80 or around 70 or 80. So she's underpriced primo in the sense that she's had that price drop due to her average, and then obviously the pay cut because she only played limited game time. So she's underpriced. She's coming back into a system where she should pick up a lot of points. So I think it's just another one that's pretty easy to pick because she is underpriced and should be in that mix of being in a top 5 sort of defender range. So again, it's probably one that you just lock in straight away, and she should increase in value and then potentially be a hold for the remainder of the year. So love her as a pick. Looking in terms of, her fixture, it's probably not the easiest, I would have thought. Looking at Collingwood, it's actually a pretty tough start for defenders specifically. So Sydney first up, then Hawthorn, then Brisbane, all are on the harder scale of things. But then she's got the nice double game in round 4, so she should provide some plenty of cash generation in that period, and then we can sort of assess, okay, where is she going to be? Is she going to be one that we maybe jump off, and she's probably not one that we're sort of looking for, or do you hold her on for the rest of the season because she does then have a pretty good run? So that's sort of my thinking behind it. I think if she didn't quite have this double game matchup, then there's potential I'd look elsewhere, just because it is a tougher run. There's no guarantee that she's going to get those bigger scores that will increase her price range. So I think that the double game just definitely sweetens the deal a little bit there for me. So I think she's one that I'll just jump on, and a bit of FOMO really that 40% of the competition are doing it. So it would take a brave coach to go against that, because that could definitely hurt if you don't have her. So there's that one. Now, a couple more risky picks I've got here in Shenard Goldrick. Please don't hate me in the comments. I'm terrible with names. And I do try my best, but it is shocking. She's 600k. She is 34 years old, so a bit of more of a risky pick. But I think the reason I've gone with her is that she actually did pretty well in the practice match. So if I go back here, and I probably should just look it up. So if you didn't know, you can look up the practice match results and the scores on the AFLW website in the news. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. But she put up a 94, played a little bit more of a midfield role because of a couple of her teammates that are out, being from Melbourne. Here's also the injury report that has come out as of recently. So I think the main one that we're looking at here is Olivia Purcell, she's out with a face injury, and there's no estimated return, who was taking up a lot of that midfield time. So I think, what's her name? Goldrick is going to be taking that sort of role in the meantime. So that obviously more midfield time means more points for those sort of players, and yeah, I think she would do quite well in that area. So I think she's worth taking the risk on. I also think Melbourne have a pretty decent run, which helped a little bit as in terms of a midfield. It's okay. It wasn't the greatest, but it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. So I don't mind taking the risk there on that one. Number 4 there, we have Watson, Shireen Watson. Maybe. She's 23, she's 413k, so it's very low risk in terms of she's pretty much basement price. She's priced below a rookie, so she's one that you could just throw in the team. She did play all the games besides one last season, so only averaging the 32. But she's in the very similar situation where I think she's going to get a bit more of that sort of slight midfield role, and also be a bit of a distributor off halfback. Again, if we look at her, what's her score from the practice match? She scored a 78, 14 kicks, 5 marks, 6 marks, and 2 tackles there. So definitely looks like she's got a new role. She looked really good in the game when I watched it as well, so she really stood out to me, and I think it's worth taking the risk on her, assuming that she's got a bit more of a friendlier role than what she had previously. So yeah, I think it's worth me taking the risk there on that one. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, then she's probably one I could jump off easily to, say, a rookie as such that will pop its head up as we get along there. So, but number 5 at D5 there, we've got Kate Luckins. I think it's, again, another smash pick. I think a lot of people are going to be doing it. She's 36, but she's priced down at 369k, so rookie price. She has previously been um, a fantasy star. I won't say a star, but she's done really well in the past. If I look back here in her results previously, she has averaged 62 and 53, or even up to 74 back in way back in season 2. I'm not expecting that sort of result, but if she can push her average back to the 50 mark, um, where we saw her only a couple seasons ago, then that's still 20 points of upside, if not 30 points of upside there. So you can't deny that. Again, very little risk because she is so lowly priced there. So easily one, I think a lot of people are going to be doing that. For my bench, I have gone with Diana Finn. Again, it wasn't her originally. I think it was Beta. I can't remember her name. I'll get into that a little bit later with other selections that I was going to look at that have spent some time on my field. But Finn, I saw her score on the in the practice match, and I thought she's got some fantasy side to her. I didn't particularly notice her too much in terms of when I was watching the game, but she did top score for Colton there. Looks like she has a bit more of a distributor role on the halfback, just with that seven marks. So I think it's just one that she's shown she's got an ability to score. So I think I'm happy to take the risk on that one. And it was over a Betty here, who only scored the 56. So I think just a bit more of the practice match score probably got me there, and it was only a very minimal price difference. So yeah, that's probably the reason behind that one. But then we move into the midfield, and midfield is where all the talking points at, because everyone's sort of running a bit of a different structure as such. A lot of people are trying to go very deep, where they're trying to do four primo midfielders, because the midfield is where you're scoring the most points. They are by far over and above any other player that you're going to get scores from. So, you have Marinoff, who's averaging 128 over the entire season. Obviously, Bowers was very similar. Then you have Garner. Probably should bring them up here. Riddell, yeah, all those sort of guys that they're scoring so much above any other position. Like I think the top scoring forward was 102, so that's 30 points on a lot of those guys, and even more in the defense line. So this is why you want to go back deep into the forward line, into the midfield. Sorry, and that's sort of what I've done. But I've also gone with a bit of a mid pricer in the mix, because I'm pretty confident on that one, and I don't want to miss out on that cash generation. So I think Marinoff speaks for herself. I think she's just the easiest captain option in a bit of in this game, in this format of the game. It's hard to sort of play this looping game, so I want to have that guaranteed captain option week in, week out. So that's sort of why I've gone with her. Also she has a really good run to start the season. So looking at midfielders going to Adelaide, those first 3 games are very, very juicy. So I think just makes it so easy to pick her. It's actually one of the best sort of starts to run to start the season. So yeah, I think she's one of the easiest picks to have, even though she is the most expensive. I've seen arguments that you could start without it, and that's definitely a possibility. It would take a very brave coach to do it, because she is nearly 70% owned. But it definitely could work out in your favor if it's anything like the men's. Obviously, paying up for those sort of players that have had their career best year, that are top priced, never really work out great, because they always come back in cash at some point. But I think given that the gap between the next best in other lines, it's not really worth for me to not pay up for her and spend up elsewhere. So that's why she's just in my team, and she's going to be my captain for a lot of the time. At M2, I've gone Charlie Rowbottom, and it's a bit of a tough one to really argue, I guess. Again, she had sort of a breakout last year. She's 22. She is 100 over nearly $1.5 million. She's 50% owned for a lot of the players. She has shown a big ceiling as well. Her highest was 144. So, and even a 133. So she does have a bit of a ceiling there. She is probably a bit of value, because she had dropped a few lower scores, an 81 and an 84, against easier opponents than what you would think realistically. Probably just some lower time on ground here and there. So I do think she's a bit of value. I don't like to generally pick players that are going to improve based on just natural improvement, but she is 22. She's so young, and there's also the fact that she's the number one mid at her club. I think she's by far the best mid there, and I think they're just going to keep feeding her the ball. The other thing was that she has a really good run. So her starting half of the year before she gets to the double game match, she only has one tougher matchup, which is Collingwood. So I think it's by and far an easy pick for me. To just pay up for that amount, not mess around with too many mid prices, because this is where you're really going to get the score from. So I love her as a pick. I've gone as my M3 with Blackburn, and she's probably a bit lesser owned. She's 7% at the moment. And the real thought process behind this, rather than using the 200k that I still haven't remaining in the bank, going up to like a Conti who's quite popular, or even a Gardner who I could get to. I think I'm not guaranteed that I want to keep Gardner or Conti for the rest of my season. Whereas Blackburn, I think she has a pretty good start to the season where, I can use her for the first, 3 matches where she has a good run, and then she hits that double game weekend where I don't need to trade her in. I'm not struggling to get anyone else in. I can trade other players in, and then after that game, I could be like, okay, she can be one that I can sacrifice to get that next player that I want in the 2 game week by 2 game weekend. I don't really know how to describe it. It's a bit different compared to the men's where it was their bye weekend. It's a 2 game on the 1 week. So which in round 5 is obviously going to be Garner or Riddell and stuff like that. So a lot of different picks that you want to sacrifice to get to that person. So I think Blackburn's going to be that player for me, and hopefully she's made some cash in the process too. Then it's not going to be much of a difference to get up to a Garner there. So, and then obviously Garner's going to be a hold for the rest of the year. It's going to be tough to not have her for the first 4 games, but yeah, definitely want to jump on her for the remainder of the season after that. So that's the thought process behind a Blackburn. She has shown a ceiling as well. I don't think that, hopefully, I'm hopeful that she has a pretty good start to the season with a good run. She's shown a really good season of 133. Just looking at some of the games that she plays against them. Western Bulldogs, she got GWS, Port, and then West Coast. So she's scored a 133 against West Coast. She didn't play Port last year, and she did not play the Giants either. So, really, bit tough to say, but if you can go off the West Coast game, then hopefully she puts up some decent 120s for us, and continues on her merry way. So that's the reason behind her. She's by far the number one mid at her club, with a few changes going on there. Probably not as many changes as we first thought, with a new coach coming on board, and with how dismal they probably have been. I thought they would have changed a few more things up, but she's by far the easiest number one mid there for them. So there's that one. Then we get to the mid pricer at my M4, which is Ellie McKenzie, who was a high draft pick. I think she might have even been the number 1 draft pick last year, but I cannot confirm that to save my life. She only played the 1 game last year, which was against the Brisbane Lions, who are coincidentally the hardest matchup in AFLW Fantasy for midfielders. And she scored a 61. So she is priced down at 52 at the moment, given that she got the discount for only having the 1 game. And unfortunately, she did cop an ACL injury throughout the rest of the season. So she didn't play. That's the reason she didn't play. So she's back this season. She's fit and firing. She is going to be back in the midfield, which I can show you here. She played in the 1 game that she played. She was pretty much 100% in the midfield, which is positive sign, and I think that's going to continue this season. When I watched the what's it called, practice match, she was in there a fair bit with the likes of Sheeran and Conti, and I think it was again, excuse me, but she scored a 71, had a pretty well-rounded score, 10 marks, 11 handballs, 4 marks, so 10 kicks, 11 handballs, 4 marks, and 3 tackles there. So I do think that with a bit more time in the midfield, she'll kick up the tackles a little bit more. So I do think she could easily bump up her average to, say, an 80, if not a 90, which is nearly 30 points on her average, being priced at 53 there. So I just think that's too much points of value that I don't want to miss out on, and that's the reason why I have chosen to put her in my midfield at M4 there, even though a lot of other people are going a bit deeper than what I am. So I'm really bullish on her, and I think she's got a bright future, and she's definitely going to provide plenty of points. While it may not be the likes of, you know, the same points as a Gardner, who, you know, regularly puts up 130s, but I still think she can be close enough, and I can gain those points elsewhere on the field and not have to take riskier picks in, say, the forward line or the defense line. So I really like her there. At M5, it's no surprise, but it is Goody there. She is by and far the easiest pick you will make this season. So if you don't have her in your side, just do it. Do not overthink it. Just get it on in your team, and yeah, you'll love it. So she needs to be there at M5. I don't think you want to push up to M4, just given probably not as confident with any of the other rookies that are coming underneath her that will provide the same sort of scoring output. I think then we're going to be batting too shallow, where obviously you want to score quite well in the midfield. So I think the M5 is its perfect spot for her. I don't think you want to waste her on the bench. I think she will provide you plenty of good fantasy tons, being a first year player. So, and potentially it'd be a hold for the year. Wait and see, but I think she's one of the easiest picks. What can I say? She's got an easy run to start off the year, so one of the easier runs, and then comes into the double game matchup in round 5. Even for the end of the season, like, it's a pretty decent run besides the last game, so potentially she could be one that you hold for the remainder of the season. So no argument there. Get it done. On the bench, in the midfield spot, I have gone with Breed from the Hawks there. She is a second-year player, so I think she's a second-year player. Well, she played all year last season, only missing a few games here and there, but she really didn't provide many scores at all. She had a lot of low time on ground, so maybe a few injuries here and there. But she is part of the new midfield mix that the Hawks are running up. So for all reports that I've seen, and from what the practice match I've seen, they're running a new midfield mix where they've changed a few things up. So she's part of that mix, and being priced at 351k, it's a pretty easy pick, and she showed a pretty good scoring potential. So she scored a 76 in the practice match, and yeah, was pretty well all rounded. So I'm really liking what I saw from her. So she's another easy pick for me on the bench. I don't think I'm comfortable enough bringing her on field, like I said. So yeah, I really like her. Yeah, that's probably enough said about that one. I think the run's also pretty good. Again, I do like to mention the run all the time. If you watch me during the mend, it's something that I mention non-stop, so hopefully it doesn't annoy you too much. But yeah, the run's pretty good for majority of the first part of the season. So yeah, should be pretty positive there. But we'll move on to the ruck line, and no surprise, I've probably gone with Alice Edmond. I was originally going to go with, what's her name? Ali Morfitt, but given that she hasn't played any of the practice matches or the match sims, and she is named as a test to play the first game against Collingwood, I just think that's enough to scare me off from playing her, or selecting her, sorry. Just because I don't think the points are that big of a difference that she will be enough to, justify the pick of just backing her after not really playing many of the games, not playing any of the games. So Ali Morfitt is probably the next best, and I think she's going to be getting a little bit more of a solo role than what she has in the past. So fingers crossed she can improve her average there. It's really hard to sort of say, but without too much knowledge, but she has been rucking previously with Moody early on in the last season, and obviously had a few others around her as well. So hopefully she's just going to continue rucking a bit more solo, and we can see some more of these highly rucked games, and she can just keep getting it done. So should be one that I should be able to hold on to for the remainder of the season. Just looking at her run as well was another big factor of why I selected her. Awesome run to start the season, and then pretty much all year. It's amazing. Like, it's by far the easiest run for any ruckman. So I think it's one I just want to lock away and not mess around with too much, because yeah, it is such a vital position in the ruck there. But if you're moving to the bench, I've got O'Dowd. Oh, I don't know. At my rock spot currently, this could definitely change. Um, this is all subject to if I want to run a red dot or not. In my side, this would be the spot that I sacrifice because it's probably the least depth that we have in terms of a potential score. We only had Lily Pierce or O'Dowd, who's looking like they're coming into their own. So if she isn't named, or if I get a good VC option from a row bottom who's playing on the Friday night, then I may look to make this a red dot and then be able to loop for the remainder of the season with that. So this could definitely change, but I don't mind having Odor there if that comes true, because she looked pretty good in the practice match where she was rocking a fair bit. I don't know how I'm going to actually write this. Is that right? She only put up a 35, but she did the 7 hit outs. Looked like she was sort of the number one ruck there at the point in time with Davies more playing as a forward, which is a bit weird. But that's alright. Did give away a fair few free kicks though, so hopefully she can get that out of her game with a bit more confidence under her belt. She is a first year player, so there's that one. Moving on to the forward line, Too Good's an easy selection. I don't think anyone needs too much justification for that one. She is 65% owned. She's by far the best forward option that we have, averaging nearly 15 points above any other player in the forward line. So she should continue that way. She looked really good in the practice match as well. If I just go here, she's only scored a 61, but I believe she only played the first half of the game. So yeah, you got to take these scores with a pinch of salt, really, because not everyone played the same game. I wish they sort of said that, but they can't really do that for every single player. So I understand that. Just got to watch the games and understand what you're looking at. So I think she's an easy pick. She's playing more of a half forward midfield role, so she does go into the midfield here and there, but not a full time mid, and she does kick a fair few goals up forward. So again, I think I really like her, and I think she's an easy one to pick. Kate Hall's one that's came into my side pretty late. I wasn't super bullish on her originally, just given that she is expensive. Melbourne aren't the greatest at the moment, so it's always been this game style where they've just sort of kicked it. Let's just kick it to Kate Hoare, and hopefully she can kick a bag, and that's what really relies on her getting a lot of points. Because when she only kicks one or two, she's having these 50s and 60s games, whereas she has shown a potential. Kicks 5 and she's put up a 142, and that's where her average is really built off of. She doesn't tackle huge heap. Just loves a lot of marks, and yeah, obviously relies on a lot of kicking at goal. So the other thing was that her run to start the season is pretty atrocious, I believe. So Geelong, first one's not too bad, but then goes into Brisbane and North, who are the toughest forward matchup specifically. Even if I look at as a midfielder, it's also very similar. So Brisbane and North are very tough though. So it's one that I thought I could hold off on and maybe purchase at some other stage, particularly obviously for the double match for the remainder of the season, but then it's also very late. So, but now that seeing that she is a nearly 50% owned, I think it's one of those cases where I'm just willing to pay up for it. She's, the next best is by far quite lower than this. So locking these two away is a smart decision in my books. Then I've got Brennan as my F3, and it's a tricky one because again it's probably very similar to a Kate Hoare situation. The forward line, I should say this off the top, the forward line is atrocious as the men's was. It's always a bit of a tricky one because there's such a split in terms of what they're going to score. So I've gone with Brennan because she looked really good in the practice game. If I show you that, yeah, kicked 3 goals. She looked really good. She took plenty of marks. Loves the tackle. Yeah, so it was just one of the, she's clearly the main forward for them and does get up the ground and help in defense a little bit as well. So really liked what I saw from her, and I think the main reason was that the run that she has at the start of the season being one of the best. Actually, sorry, not quite the best, but the second best for forward. So I thought pick her in my side, at least hold her for these sort of first 5 rounds where she gets to the double game. Hopefully she can increase her average and increase in price, and then if she's not going to be sort of that top 5 forward, then maybe I can look to shift her on, and that she can facilitate another trade to get these next sort of lot of double game players in round 6. So that's the thinking back behind her. Besides that, I do think she is currently uh, in the top ranking. So she's 4th currently ranked on average as a forward. So there is probably a high chance that she will remain there with the nicer run. So not playing it too risky in terms of the forward line because there are a lot of speculative picks flowing around. But to finish it off, we've got Ruby Chipotle, maybe. She is 379k, and from what I'm hearing, she is potentially going to be running in the midfield with a couple of her teammates out. So there's that potential. She did it in the practice match as well, and she looked really good in there and did provide plenty of scoring power there. So, Ruby. She scored a 66. So, yeah, I think she's one. Not a huge amount of risk because she is so lowly priced. So I think she's one I can trust on my field. And then I've also got Michaela Ponga, who has been widely spoken about getting a lot more midfield time, and should be one that is another easy selection for a lot of people. So I think I'm pretty comfortable with her at F5 there. Then you've got Yasmin Dersma, who is potentially getting a new wing role, so should be getting much more points being closer to the action there. So rather than playing a deep forward, which she was last season, where she did put up some of these scores. So yeah, I really like that one. And then to finish off, I've got Pipe Window, who's another another Port Adelaide rookie, who's shown a lot of class in terms of being an AFL fantasy accumulator. So her junior numbers were really good. So I really liked what she brought to. Even though she didn't score the greatest in terms of her practice match, she did have a injury in this game. So no real concerns there for me. She loves a tackle. And yeah, she's one that can grab the ball pretty easily and is going to improve her average no matter what. And on the bench, I can't complain too much. So I think I've knocked off a lot of the major rookies that I wanted. Sort of the way I like to build these things is build them from ground up. So really starting with those rookies that I really wanted and then sort of making my team from there. So I think I've got a pretty balanced team currently. I have played around with a few other players, which I probably should get into now. Let's go on to my favorites, I guess. So obviously there are a few that I do have in here that are currently my side. But I liked Jessica Allen. She's one that I looked at as a cheaper ruck option because she has been dual rucking for for most of her career. So now that her partner is not partner, sorry, her dual the other ruck in Adelaide is injured. She should be getting a little bit more of a solo run, so she could definitely improve her average. I think I can't remember the exact games that she did it, but I think it was this Melbourne game she soloed rucked, and it was possibly these two 66 and 63 games. So definitely increases her floor and potentially increases her average by maybe 10 or 15, if not 20 points. So she's one that I was definitely looking at, but I've decided just to lock and load and not have to worry about the ruck line too much. So I think that's where I've settled. In the defense, I liked Geordie Allen. She looked really good in the practice game, just being that intercepting defender. She was everywhere and yeah, just was getting it done. So I don't mind her, and there's potential that I do bring her on my side instead of a Goldrick. At the end of the day, if if I have more discussions and things go, and I make more decisions, but we'll see. I think I'm comfortable with my team currently, but she can definitely fall in there. This is probably the most speculated pick that not many people are looking at, which I thought was a pretty good option because Casey Sheriff is part of the new midfield group at Hawthorn. So in the practice game, she was played there all day, and she looked pretty good in patches, providing a bit of a tackler. She has shown a bit of a tackling prowess in her previous role. So I thought if she's bringing that to the midfield, then she should easily be able to bump up her average, which is 40 to at least to 60. So I thought in the forward line, that's pretty positive. It's just it's the lowly owned part of it for me that probably scares me the most. And while it's not the worst thing that I could do, because I could jump off quite quickly, I think just going deeper into the forward line is probably where I've gone. But I still am really bullish that she will improve her average in some ways. Yes, she didn't score the most in the practice match. So I'll go here. She only scored a 43, but from what I saw, she got a lot more tackles than what they've accounted for. I think a lot of the numbers, like I said before, you got to take these scores with a pinch of salt because they probably didn't get these scores 100%. They may have missed a tackle too who are there. I think she's going to improve her tackle numbers pretty drastically. And the other thing you got to consider is that Hawthorn dominated this game. I think they won by 49 points. That's not going to happen every single week. So it's going to be more contested. There's going to be more tackles. She's going to be around the ball a lot more often. So I think I really was bullish on this pick, and she spent probably 95% of the time in my squad for a little while, only removing her very recently. So one I'm definitely be watching in the first part of the season if I'm looking to downgrade to a cheaper forward line option. Lauren Butler is one that spent a lot of time on my defense, but given that she is out with a 1 to 2 week, I think it was a foot injury or something like that, so she's currently unavailable to be selected. So just due to injury. So one I'll be watching early on to see if again can I trade her in, being a bit of a cash cow for us. So like that one. Abby McDonald also spent a fair bit of time in my squad and is currently in a lot of people's squads because she is 22% owned. She and Watson has been tossing and turning about who I'd rather in my squad because she looked really good in that first quarter in the practice match. She was everywhere. She was marking everything and was getting plenty of touches. But then I went and looked at her actual score in the end of the day and it was only a 46, which I thought probably majority of that was in the first quarter. So I think she had a really tough time after that, and I think that was just due to Geelong getting on top of the game and spending a bit more time in the forward half than being locked down in the defence. So it's a tough one for me because I don't think there's been enough of a role change there for me to select her. Like looking at these scores, you definitely don't want these 20s and 10s, which she scored last season. I definitely would rather see her have these 53s, which we know she's got a fantasy game behind her because if you look at her AFLW, the second league, she was averaging like 90 there. So she's got that prowess about her that she can score when she's in the right role. So if I do see that early on, then I'll probably potentially trade her in. I'm not saying that she's not going to be part of my side at the start of the season, but at this point she's not. Another one that was pretty lowly owned was Yasmin Smith. I believe that she was playing a bit more of a midfield role for the Western Bulldogs because Western Bulldogs are looking to change a few things up, but ultimately I don't think they changed enough things up that she wasn't in there a lot of the time. She was sort of just getting sprinkles here and there, so it's probably not enough for me to have enough confidence to trade her to start her in my side, even though she's quite lowly owned. Ella K. Smith was also one that I'm quite heavily considering starting as my bench rookie because, what's her name? For the Gold Coast Suns, they have a midfielder out, I believe. I can't actually remember who it is now. Yeah. Anyways, I believe there's a midfielder out that potentially she will have some midfield time. So 300k basement price, you can't really go too wrong with that. So I think she's shown some sort of fantasy prowess as well. So definitely one I've considered a hell of a lot. Welland, I'll say that. Scored really well in the practice game, so I've definitely considered her instead of a Piper Window. Particularly if Piper Window didn't get up for her for the game, but it looks like she is, so I'll probably used to start with Piper instead of Welland, just for the sake that she's shown more of a ceiling, I guess, in the second league. So I think she'll provide a bigger ceiling. And then a couple other Colton players that I've considered here and there, just throughout the preseason. Betty definitely could come into my squad. She is quite highly owned instead of a Finn, but I think just given the Finn looked like she had more of that dominant role, so I think being a bit more of a mature age as well, I think I'm just more comfortable going with that. So that's the team. That was a long reveal, but hopefully I've given you some insight about why I've selected certain players and the reason why my team looks the way it is. Hopefully it comes with good ranking. I can't say it's going to, but yeah, it definitely feels right for me at this point in time. I've played with a different couple structures, but this is the one I think I've settled on currently. Leaving myself 200k in the bank just in case of anything that pops up in round one, as I like to do, just in case anything does go wrong or I need to jump on certain players pretty quickly. I do have the funds there that I can make those trades and not be too restrictive there. So I do like to have a bit of coin in the bank. So I think I'm pretty comfortable with that amount. Wouldn't probably go too much more than that. But yeah, that's my side. In terms of what I will be putting out in terms of YouTube content, all I will be doing this season will be doing team reviews. So very similar to what I did in the men's was probably a 20-minute video just explaining, okay, this is how my side went. These were the key players that I like the look of. Here's my captain option, here's my +3, -3, all that sort of things. And then we'll go through what my trades will potentially be. So that's all I'm really looking to do. I don't feel comfortable quite, providing other content just because I'm not the most knowledgeable in this space. Hopefully by the end of the season I will have a bit more knowledge, and maybe in future years or even by the end of the season I may be able to do a few bits and bobs here and there, but definitely not confident enough just to jump in and say, here's all the content you need to help you guys try and win a hat, which I'm in the same boat as you, trying to win my first hat in the women's league. So yeah, we're all together. Hopefully we see a lot more players in the competition this year. I think only last year there was 30,000 players, so hopefully we can hit 50,000 this year. Yeah, a lot more of an official game now with a bit more resourcing going on. A lot of content out there now as well with the Free Kick Pod, the official AFLW pod. So if you haven't checked them out, please do. And then you've also got the Fantasy Fanatic guys over there that are putting out some content this year as well. So check out those guys if you really want to have more information around the whole league and everything that you need to know. Unfortunately here I won't be providing that information as such. So, but yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed my team review. Please leave your thoughts down below if you have any questions about any of the players. I'll do my best to try and respond, but hopefully you join me for the ride for the season. Yeah, like I said, one video a week, and yeah. But yeah, I think I'll do it. My captain, I guess, I'll finish this off, will be Marinoff. I will be putting the VC on row bottom on the Friday night to see how she goes. And like I said, if she does well, then I'll look to probably bring in a red dot in the R2 spot there and utilize that. So I think the line will have to be like 130, if not 135, because Marinoff does have a pretty good record, I think, against Port Adelaide. 112, so it's not the greatest, but there was again the first round of the season, so I think she can definitely improve on that. So yeah, that's enough rambling for me. Hopefully you guys have a great season. Hopefully you've done plenty of research, and yeah, hopefully you have a good fantasy season. I'll catch you guys next week in the first video of the review. Bye.